The one thing I would say is just change your mindset. There's a saying that you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with or talk to. For me, it's been, it's both. I talk to people on the phone that's nowhere near my market, but we have the same mindset, right? And they keep me accountable. So to me, it's your mindset. Honestly, when you change your mindset, everything else will change, right? It sounds pretty corny, like to tell yourself, "Hey, I'm gonna be the biggest real estate investor in the world," or "I'm gonna make $100,000 a month," right? That's because your mind is telling you, I don't know if you can do that," right? Or you're telling yourself that. But when you start telling yourself that, just like I was reading a book, Muhammad Ali, right? He would always say, "I'm the greatest," right? No one else called him the greatest. He called himself the greatest. Now everybody calls him the greatest.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Mike Glaspie.
And this is Dan Wynn.
And welcome to the Financial Freedom Journal. Today, our guest is Quintin Judson. He's an active duty Army officer stationed out of Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington, right? He's the owner of KF Greenbook Homebuyers, which is a real estate investment company specializing in the buying and the selling of homes. He started investing in 2016, and he's been failing forward ever since, completing a flip and acquiring rentals. And currently, he specializes in wholesale. How you doing, Quintin?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for being here, man. So go ahead and give everybody a quick little background about you and about your real estate investment journey.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. Definitely an honor and privilege. For me, man, I started back in 2016. Honestly, like everyone else, you're Googling how to make, some more money or quick money. I kept seeing real estate popping up. So I'm like, what is this real estate thing? So of course, you go on the regular forums like Bigger Pockets and you just YouTube University. So I just like, well, let me try something. So I reached out and I just called like the first realtor I saw, like, hey, I need an investment property, right? Just like anybody else. Luckily it was the right one. She did some investing herself. So she hooked me up with my first rental, which is a condo. And then about 2 months after that, we found a fix and flip. And ever since then, man, I've just been rolling, looking at different avenues and just fell for it.
So you said that first agent that you found, she was actually an investor herself?
Right. She was a prior investor, full-time agent now. But she just, she just fell for it with me also. We just figured it out.
Hey, I want to just point out one thing really quick, especially for those that are listening. You notice that Quintin keeps saying failing forward. Well, I think that's phenomenal. I want you to kind of expound on that a little bit. Why do you keep saying failing forward? I pretty much know the answer, but I think it's very, very important for people to know and understand what that means, because some people think failing, that's not what I want to do, period. So can you expound on that a little bit?
So for me, failing forward, I mean, when you're looking at something new, you don't really understand it. So a lot of people are like, well, let me figure everything out first. Let me have everything perfect before I jump into something. But what I figured out pretty quickly was, you kind of jump off the cliff and you build your parachute on the way down. So what I would do is hey, I'm gonna try it out. If I fail, at least I'm gonna learn something from it. And I might make some money on the way down, but hey, at least I'm gonna learn quicker than just sitting on the sideline watching everybody else doing and trying to figure it out on my own. So that's why everything now I do, I just fell forward.
And it's so important that you say that, man, because so many people say it's so important to just get the first deal done, because you get over that fear, right? You learn your most valuable lessons just by completing the first deal. And so that's right, that you think like that, because I'm the same way. Let's just jump. Let's figure it out.
Exactly.
So tell me this. You said that you were just looking for another way to get a quick buck, but what was the real motivation for you to find this other income stream or potentially passive income stream?
So, I mean, the real motivation is to quote unquote retire yourself, right? So I wanted to be able to create something that can bring me additional cash flow that could replace my 9 to 5 or just replace my everyday living expenses, right? So that way I can kind of, if I wanted to, get out of a job if I needed to, and still have a nest egg and money coming in that's just working for me while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's hard to believe that you did this all while active duty, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta. I think it's something about the military, right? We definitely find a way to get things done. You might not always have the time, but you just gotta find the time. I feel like if you really want to do something, you're gonna find the time to do it.
Absolutely.
I think that's super key, especially kind of how we met. We were both XOs at the time down at Fort Stewart together. I'm actually going back there. I'm really excited about it. But we were both XOs at the time down at Fort Stewart, and I would have never known he was investing in real estate. I mean, the one thing I don't really necessarily agree with in the military is the idea that you shouldn't pursue other things, right? So I think obviously we linked up on social media and kind of noticed that each other, we were both kind of had the same goals, I guess, in real estate, right? But I wish that was more kind of pushed. I understand the mission first and everything, but I think it makes us better leaders and better soldiers in general, being able to operate under different different mindsets, if you will. I think everything brings a new perspective in that can help other people out. So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Being well-rounded and multifaceted, I think helps everybody approach problems a little bit differently, right? And so now you coming in as a military leader, but you have maybe an investments type of mindset. So now, especially as an XO, when you're looking at some of the logistical things, you may think of a way to make it a little bit more economic or streamlined this way. Or if a soldier comes to you and says, hey, sir, I'm having issues with this, and there financially. Well, you now live that lifestyle, right? And now you can guide, mentor, educate, and all these other things. So I completely agree. It's super important. So tell me about your first deal. You say you went out and your first deal was a condo, right? Now, was this a wholesale? Was this a flip? What was this deal here?
So this was just a straight rental property. I read a couple books on acquiring rentals, and you always hear about the 1% rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
So found this condo, analyzed it. It was $42,000, and it rented out
Where was this at? Where was this at?
In Fort Stewart, Georgia, Hinesville.
Let me write that down. Okay.
Yeah, take a look. So she found it for me. I knew nothing about the area. I said, hey, let me just look, as far as the rental rates. Only way I know how to look was Zillow, right? So I went on Zillow, typed in the neighborhood. Okay, they rent for about $725, $750. I knew I could do some updates and raise the rent. So I said, hey, that makes sense. $40,000, 1% rule is, $400. I can make double that on this. So I just jumped right in. Luckily, I built a relationship with a small local bank, which is a good key for anyone. If you're in an area, build a relationship with a small local bank, because they want to earn your business. And a lot of times they'll do a lot more things than these bigger banks would. So they actually funded me the whole thing 100%. So I came out, actually got a check at closing for about $350. So my returns on this property is infinite. Yeah. So then I actually just got it under contract. I'm selling it, and I'm selling it for $60,000, a little over 2.5 years. So
excellent. Yeah. Hey, so let's walk through the numbers. And we're talking about, let's go over expenses, what you put into it, what you ended up renting it out for. Let's do a deep dive into that, because I think it's really important for people to understand what that looks like. And you talked about the 1% rule, which is phenomenal. But can you kind of do a deep dive on that, and then also what it did for your mindset after you actually after you started seeing those returns?
Right. So this is not normal. Okay. So I came into the deal. It was, I guess you can say, a motivated seller, right? She was stationed there at Fort Stewart, but she had moved away about 5 years ago and was always trying to sell the condo. I didn't really look at before how long it had been on the market, but I came into the condo, $42,000. She paid all closing costs, so it was no money out of pocket for me, and I got the prorated taxes. So I made, like I said, I made $300 at closing. Now, as far as the numbers go, The mortgage on our property was about $300 a month. I did have a property manager at the time. I did not know how to manage properties. So I had a property manager at $75 a month. And then I had, of course, the condo association fees. Those are about $125 a month. So if you add that up, that's about 300, about 250 in cash flow month to month. The property was, I mean, it was moving ready. It already had a tenant in it. It was pretty much turnkey. So I came right into cash flow. I didn't have to put a tenant in the property at all. I knew I could raise the rent, so I just waited until the last tenant moved out. And when a new tenant moved in, I raised it up to 800. So I added another like 75, $50 to my cash flow. And as far as my mindset at this point, I'm like, it can't be this easy. I just stumbled upon a property. I'm getting instant cash flow. So yeah, at that point, I'm just like engulfing my brain in education. There's so many different ways of real estate. But as far as mindset, man, it changed everything. I'm like, man, I can do this. This is a piece of cake, right? I knew nothing about real estate in 3 or 4 months. I had my first rental. And at that point, I was going into my first flip, which is the even more interesting story.
So I got a question, man. You said you got 100% financing from a local bank.
100%.
And
right.
Yeah, I want to know.
That wasn't a VA loan. That wasn't.
No VA loan. It was a commercial loan. So that's why I say it's always good to network, right?
Absolutely.
I just, hey, network with this guy, find out he was the loan officer for a small local bank in Hinesville. And he was like, hey, like we do everything, we'll fund you 100%, like 100%. I don't put any money down. No money down, we just need check credit, the regular financials. And if everything checks out, we'll fund it to you. I said, okay, cool. So 100% was like 5 years. He's like, no, we give you 15, 20 years. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's about to be a game changer, because I know after anyone listens to this episode, everyone's gonna be like, all right, I need to get in contact with this Quintin dude and find out what bank that is. I know I'm about to have a conversation with you offline right now.
Yeah, man.
That's some phenomenal, like unheard of deal. What was the interest rate? Just by you said it was commercial loan, so
yeah, it was commercial. It was commercial loan. The interest rate was around 4.5%.
Yeah.
So it wasn't terribly bad.
I just emailed my banker right now. We're gonna get this figured out. A price match.
That's the key, man. That's the key. If you're in a local market, I mean, these small banks, nobody really thinks to go to them. And I mean, if you can provide some type of value, say, hey, this property is worth this or worth that, I mean, they're jumping at all day.
I completely agree with that. One of the local lenders here has completely changed the game for us as well. But I'm definitely going to make her look into 100% financing type option, man.
Yeah.
That will allow so many, investors at that first step to just take the leap if they know that they can come in, no money in the pocket, or better yet, go to closing, get $300 paid to them, and get $250 worth of cash flow, immediately. Yeah. That's powerful.
Okay. So finishing that one off, you said you're selling that one, correct? Now, why are you selling that?
So I'm selling that one right now. I look at it. It's a great investment, right? I would love to keep it, but I just know it's at the top of the market right now. When I bought those properties, I mean, they were selling for $39,000, $40,000, like I said. I have no money into it, and now I'm selling it for $60,000. So I can turn around and either buy some more condos, or I can go and buy a couple more single families that'll yield me a little more return. But that's where I'm at right now with that.
Okay, so you want to draw the equity out of it and then possibly move that into something else. Possibly, I mean, you're saying that the market right now, we're probably at the highest point. And I definitely agree with you as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming you're going to take that out and maybe kind of feel the pulse of the market for a few months, or before you jump back in, or you jumping into commercial, or what?
So I'm pulling it out. I want to feel the market. I feel like it's not going to crash, but eventually it's going to even back out. So that now I can go and acquire even more properties at a discounted price. So just taking advantage of the market and my equity I have now, and I can go back in and I can go back and get 100% again if I want to, or I can, grab some other properties with the money that I made. So.
Okay.
That's awesome, man.
So moving into the more interesting deal that you were talking about. So the first flip, and that seems like you probably learned a lot of lessons from that one. It seems like the first one was pretty clean cut. So I'm not sure how many lessons you learned from that one, but I'm sure when we go into ripping down walls and doing flips and things, there's a lot more to be learned there. So can you talk about that or speak to that?
Yeah, so that first one spoiled me, right? I'm thinking it was just easy plug and play, right? So the second one was a fix and flip. Never done a fix and flip in my life. Besides paint, never fixed a house by myself. So this property was a VA foreclosure in Hinesville. I got it for $50,000. With my realtor, we did analysis. We knew we could sell it quickly at about 115. Top of the market, 125. So we went in, saw the property. It's one of those things to where you have to not really put in a blind offer, but if you are going to go see the property, you want to see it the same day you hear about it and put the offer in the same day. And you want to put a little bit more on top of the offer, or just guarantee that you're paid, some type of earnest money down. Just show the bank that you're serious. So she told me about it. I didn't even see the property. Like I said, fell for it. Probably wasn't smart at the time, but say, hey, whatever. Went back to the same bank. They said, hey, we'll fund you. You guys don't laugh. We'll fund you 100% of the cost. At the time, I didn't know they were funding repair costs, which is I probably should have done that, but I didn't know. But they said, hey, we'll fund you 100% of purchase price and closing. I said, okay, I'll do that.
This magical bank.
Magical bank, right? So at the time, I had a credit card. So I said, hey, I'll just use a credit card for repairs. Didn't know how I was gonna get the money. So I got a local contractor. He had done a few work in the area, pretty good work. So we got it started right ahead. So this is where the lesson came in, right? So he's like, hey, I said, hey, will you just take, credit cards, or, most people have like some type of online banking system. I can just use my credit card. He's like, no, we got burned in the past. We need checks. I'm like, checks? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. I'll figure it out, right? So I didn't know any way to pull money off the credit card. I'm like, man, how am I going to get this money? I called my bank, right? So I had a loan on my truck still. I was paying. Luckily, I had some equity in it. But she like, hey, you can just refinance your truck. Probably wasn't the smartest thing, right? But say, hey, I can get this cash off of it, and I'll just pay it back down when I sell my home, which I did. So refinanced my truck, pulled that cash out, and started paying the contractor that way. So like I said, I was just failing forward. I think the project took from the start of the repairs. We started in November of that year. We started October that year. We were finished by the end of November, and I had it on the market right before Christmas. So it was a light, I guess you'd call it a light cosmetic flip. Put a new roof on it, completely changed out the paint, put new hardwood floors. It wasn't a huge gut job, but it was about $20,000 in work. So I'm all in about 70, 75. Put on the market right before Christmas, and it sold about the third week in January. So at 115, what we were asking for. The buyer paid the closing costs. Like I said, it went smooth as much as I thought, but it was definitely a learning lesson as far as I learned a lot about construction. I learned a lot about, working with contractors. Now I know I need to create some type of schedule, because I was blindly trusting the contractor to get stuff done. As you know, we were at XOs together. So during lunch break, I'm heading out there, checking on the flip, trying to get back in time. And I had no idea. I'm calling my realtor like, hey, can you make sure this gets done? She's probably like, this is not my my project. But she was, luckily she helped me out. She knew I was my first flip. I did not know how, like I said, I didn't know anything, but luckily it turned out great. So.
That's awesome, man. You hit on a couple of key points there. With you going through all of that process, you've learned not only what a refinance looks like, regardless if that's a vehicle or a home. You learned the power of having checklists with contractors, right?
Right.
You learned the right questions to ask, the timeline associated with flips, the cost, the hidden cost associated with flips, right? They call it holding cost. I mean, you learned all of that good stuff, and you put your house on the market at the slowest time of the real estate
All
and
right.
still got it sold in a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got some kind of weird voodoo magic when it comes to real estate, man. 100% financing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Come on, let's work together. Let's partner on something, man.
It's
Hey,
like
so
networking, man.
so another couple key things I want to hit on is his ability to figure it out, right? They say there's a difference between, there's two types of people in the world. There's people that look at a problem and say, I can't do it. Or there's people that will look at a problem and say, how can I do it, right? We all pretty much read it in the, Purple and Gold book. At least that's where I kind of learned that from, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I think that's so crucial in success, not just in real estate, but in life, right? So he looked at the problem. He's like, hey, I got to write checks. I had this card. This was my initial plan. I got credit cards, so I'm going to put everything on credit. Contractor says, no. I need cash, basically, cash or checks. Q looks at it like, all right, how the heck am I going to do this? Some people would just literally give up at that point, like, oh, well, I guess, I got to find another contractor, or I guess I can't do this. What am I going to do? Woe is me, right? No, you looked at the problem and you figured out, all right, how can I do that? Well, I got this truck. Let me creatively figure out another way to create cash. We all have that within us, right? Like every person, if you're listening to this, every person has that within us, the ability to figure out a problem. It's our own self-limiting beliefs that keeps us back. And I just really think that's awesome. And I love that you did that. And I think that's a great point to highlight about your story. So.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. So you covered your first rental. You covered your flip. All right. You exit your flip. Now you got this capital. You're thinking about going into another deal potentially. What other deals have you done, man? Where's your next step? What's like on the horizon?
From then, I was like, hey, this is great. I'm getting 250 cash flow. Did a flip, took me about 3.5 months, but this money is too slow. Right. That was my mindset at the time. So I started looking into bigger pockets. I said, hey, these guys are getting, these wholesalers. What's wholesaling? What these checks for like $10,000, $15,000 is in getting in 2-3 weeks. I never heard of that. So what I did, just, immerse myself in YouTube University. Once again, it's free. So I just started, once again, failing forward, trying to figure out the wholesaling aspect. So just, you can get a lot of free content on Facebook pages, a lot of free content on bigger pockets. So I said, hey, let me try wholesaling. Did the YouTube University, got my first deal probably about 45 days into it. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know how to run the numbers. I just went out there and did it. It was a property in Savannah, Georgia. And I got it for about $10,000, wholesaled it for 15. So I made about 5 in between. Like, oh man, this is pretty cool. But I knew at the time, like, hey, if I really want to do this, I need to get some type of education or mentor to shorten my learning curve. So what I did was get a mentor that specialized in nothing but wholesaling. From then, I just started wholesaling. And then I got the call, from Uncle Sam, said, hey, you're going to PCS, right? So me and my wife, we PCS out here to Tacoma, Washington. And that's where everything started kicking off. I'm in a whole new market, didn't know anybody. Said, hey, I'm just going to go out here and try it. Started going to local RIAs, meeting some people. And then I started wholesaling out here. And from then I've been doing that consistently, about 2 deals a month. And it's been great so far.
Yeah, man. So I see you all over the place now, doing the wholesaling deals, and I share your stuff on from time to time, and obviously watch your content. I like the stuff that you're doing. I think you just recently wholesaled a home. You kind of put, hey, the text message between you and the person. Can you kind of explain that one, or just any interesting deal, a couple of interesting wholesale deals of yours, and what the numbers might have looked like?
Yeah. Okay. So what's interesting about this market I'm in is that it's appreciated so much in so short of a time. So what happened with that deal that you're talking about specifically was, so, when it comes to wholesaling or being an investor at all, a lot of people, there's the old school method of the slow grind or the slow referral business, right? But nowadays, it's all about marketing. As a real estate investor, I believe that, you're a marketer first. So if you can market that you're a real estate investor, you would definitely get a lot of leads, right? Nobody's going to know you're an investor if you don't tell anybody, right? Just like, somebody becomes a doctor. If they don't open up a practice, nobody's going to know you're a doctor. So nobody's coming to you, right? So what I do is I market. I've done a lot of social media marketing now I've turned to. But my first deal out here was actually a trailer. So I sent out direct mail. So what direct mail is postcards or a letter saying, hey, I want to buy a house in this neighborhood. I'd love to purchase yours, right? And what I did was I sent out probably about 8,000 letters, right? Once again, just failing forward. Did not know the market. I said, hey, I'm gonna hit this zip code, send out letters, see what happens. So probably about 6 weeks into it, I'm getting a little discouraged, right? I'm getting phone calls of people like, F you, or, no, I don't want to sell. Like, okay, I got you. So finally got a call from this one guy. He's like, man, I've been sending you a letter for about 3 weeks, and something just told me to give you a call. So this is what it was interesting about doing any type of real estate deal, or whether it be wholesaling or any other creative strategy, is when you're talking to these homeowners, it's not about the property, right? You're a solution based company, right? Whether you know it or not, you're solving someone's problem. So their problem is real estate, and you're solving it by purchasing it from them some type of way. So the guy's like, hey, my wife died, my kids are gone. You can tell he was just in just a very bad situation. The house was completely trash, right? He just didn't care. He kind of gave up on life. I mean, we sat there for about 3 hours just talking, like just talking about everything. And I think we talked about a price for 5 minutes, and we went right back to talking about something else, right? Um, so that was most interesting because of my first deal. As far as the numbers on it, I looked at comps in the area. The houses could sell for around 215. So I just said, hey, I'm gonna throw out a number. This is what I want to be at. I don't know if he's gonna accept it. We never talked about numbers before I got there. So I said, hey, how much you want for the house? He's like, well, how much you give to me? So at this point, I always remember my mentor saying, hey, if you don't feel, sick or nervous about your offer, is not low enough, right? So I said, hey, I'll give you 75,000. He looked at me. He was like, how about 85? I said, in my mind, I'm like, okay. In my mind, like, yes, right. But I know my mentor said, as much as I wanted to say yes, like on the spot, my mentor was like, no, go back and go lower. I said, how about 80? He said, fine, let's do it. And then we went back to talking about something else. So I got it at $80,000. I'm looking at the market like, okay, if I'm a fix and flipper, where would I want to buy this property at to make a good return, right? So I put it out there at 105. Got an offer in at 106. Made right over $20,000 on that property. So that was my first deal. Once again, I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
So hey, man, it was definitely a interesting deal. It changed my mindset because all times before that, probably 4 or 5 weeks before that, I'm just getting phone calls of like, hey, F you, or no, I don't want to sell. I'm like, man, stuff doesn't work out here. I might need to try something else. And then I forgot what it was. I think it was E.T. the hip hop preacher, right? I think everybody knows this guy. So he's like, hey, your mindset, you have to change your mindset. So I just started, hey, every day I'm waking up, hey, I'm gonna get a deal. I actually wrote it down on a sticky note, put it on my bathroom mirror. I'm gonna get a deal in the next 30 days, and it's gonna be $20,000 or more. I said it every day. I'm gonna be a successful wholesaler, successful real estate investor. And all of a sudden, I get this call from this guy that seemed like nobody else knew about, and I made money. So It's all about mindset, man. And I learned a lot from that deal. Ever since then, man, my mindset has completely changed. The people I surround myself completely changed. Even if I'm on the phone, you say something negative, I'm probably getting on the phone with you. Um, so to me, it's all about mindset. And then from there, man, it's just educating yourself. And now I've kind of moved into more just acquiring more buy and holds. Just going back to my original goal of that passive income to replace my either my 9 to 5 or just replace my bills. So that's where I'm at right now. But yeah, it was definitely a interesting deal.
Man, you touched on a lot of good stuff there, man. So first and foremost, you talking about just the mindset. I don't know, you always had it, but ET came in at the right time, right
Right
when you were
time.
ready to heal, you know what I mean, and kind of put you over that hump. And you have discovered something that so many real estate professionals take forever to figure out. Grant Cardone says it like, if they don't know you, they don't flow you, right? And so you're talking about marketing. Man, you went 8,000 letters out there for one deal, but that one deal paid off, man. That
Yeah.
is huge. And the last thing is that this whole thing, everything about real estate is all relationship based. Everything. It's about your network with the realtor that you found, with that lender who gives you all this free money, which is absurd, right? the relationship you made with this seller, and just understanding, their pain points, their strong points, and then you ultimately just providing a solution. And when you solve other people's problems, man, you get those big paychecks. And something like that, $20,000, man, I tell you what, there's realtors out there. If you were a realtor, I'm a realtor. If you was a realtor and I represented that $80,000 sale, I'd have made like $700. You know what I mean? But instead,
Yeah.
found a creative way to make 20,000. So, hey, that is amazing. Coming around the corner, you got 3 wins. It's ridiculous.
That's
Yeah.
great. Dude, you're 100% right. So I just want to kind of dive in a little bit on the technical aspect of wholesaling, right? So we've talked about the mindset, which is obviously key to any success that we have. Like 89% of our success has to deal with our mindset. But as far as the technical pieces, for those that are out there listening, what do your systems look like in setting up that wholesale business?
Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to find a marketing channel that fits your personality. So for me at the time, it was direct mail. Military, they were working 12-hour days. I don't have time to make phone calls or follow. I need people calling me, right? So the first thing you want to do is set up some type of marketing, whether it's door knocking, sending letters out, social media, whatever works for you, it'll work, right? That's the first thing I want to tell people. Don't look for 5 other marketing streams. Whatever you work with, it will work. I promise you. So first thing you want to do is set up your marketing. You want to look at areas that a lot of fix and flippers are buying in, right? So they're buying in these specific areas because it's yielding them a greater ROI or return on investment on their money. So when you do that, you start marketing those areas. What you want to do is look at the prices in those areas. Okay. So what are these homes selling for after they're fixed up? So a fix and flipper is going to want to know, how much their repairs are, and they probably want, 20% or more return on their money. So a quick formula for you to do is say the home is worth $100,000, all fixed up, right? Depending on your market, it changes, but say, we're down in Georgia, okay? So $100,000, if you times that by 0.80 or 0.75, that's the return the fix and flipper is looking to get, right? So now you're down to $75,000. You look at the home, you gauge it. You're not a contractor. Don't get super technical into it. Go in the home. Something I like to do is the rule of 5. So any major areas, I'll just say $5,000, right? So roof 5,000, kitchen 5,000, bathrooms, maybe half of that, but 5,000, right? Who cares? So you look at those major areas, and if they need work, that's what you add up to. Those are my repairs. Quick, down and dirty, right? So now you say that's $20,000. You want to take that $20,000 away. Now you're at what, 55,000, right? So you're at 55 grand. You say, hey, I want to make $5,000 wholesale fee. Take your wholesale fee away from 55. Now you're at 50. Okay, but this is the key. You will go into the homeowner's home. You don't want to say, hey, I'll give you $50,000. They're going to say, well, how about 55? Now you're at zero. You're not making any money, right? So you want to always go probably about 10,000 below what your max allowable offer is, which is 50,000. So you want to start up at 40 and let them work your way up, right? So they say, hey, 40. Hey, how about you give me 45? That's great. You're making an extra $5,000. But they might say, hey, how about we give you 50? Oh, I think I can do 50, right? You don't ever say, oh, that's perfect. I think I can do it. I think that'll work. So that's just the technical aspect of it when you're going into the home. Now, selling that property is a disposition model of it. So you can either do it two ways. Find your buyers before you even get a property under contract, so you know exactly what they're looking for, what price range, and where. Or you can get something under contract, and the buyer will find you. In the investment world, I mean, if it's a good deal, the buyer's gonna find you, right? The money's gonna find you. So I don't really get too wrapped up in buyers. When you start doing more and more deals, you'll have your go-to buyers, which I do, and you know exactly what they want, so you know exactly where to market to. But quick down and dirty, get your first deal. I mean, just go out there, find the area, look for homes that need work, get in front of the seller, get on the contract, man, and sell it quickly. So that's the technical aspect of it. Me personally, how mine is set up, I have myself and I have a virtual assistant. So he's in the Philippines. He works for about $4 an hour, right? Super cheap, but he can get a lot of work done, a lot more than I can get done after I've worked 12 hours a day, right? So I'll set out a specific task for him on the weekend. Sundays is kind of like I guess my meeting, right? So I'll say, hey, what do I need done this week? I'll give him specific tasks to get done, whether it's following up with other sellers or setting up my marketing. He gets his stuff done. I get incoming calls, or he'll say, hey, I need you to call this person, and we'll do it like that. I wanted to set my business up to where only thing I have to do is make decisions, and he does all the back work, right? We call those $3-5 an hour tasks. You don't want to be doing those. It's not going to be generating you any revenue, right? In the beginning, you may have to, but as quickly as you can, outsource those tasks, because you'll get bogged down super quick, won't do any deals, and you'll be looking around and it's 2 months later and nothing's happened. So that's how my business is set up right now. Just me and a VA. It's pretty simple. I keep it simple. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So as far as your direct mail marketing campaigns, I assume you're using some kind of system for that, or some kind of system for that, and then also possibly like MailChimp. I know a couple of wholesalers that use like MailChimp and then ListSource and things like that. Are you using this? Or do you find yourself and your VA using the same things?
So there's a lot of, as far as getting a list, there's a lot of list companies, like you said, ListSource. These days, I mean, you can Google wholesale list, or I mean, there's so many list providers. I'm not saying they're all good, but there's a lot of them out there. As far as mailing, you have different mail houses. There's like Yellow Letter, HQ. I mean, like I said, you can Google these things and a million of them will pop up, right? Or you can just hand jam them. I mean, my wife would tell you, man, I'm sitting in the kitchen 3 hours till my hands are cramping writing letters. Right. So for me, it's sending out postcards, simple message. Hey, my name's Quintin, looking to buy a couple homes in the neighborhood. Was wondering if you're interested in selling. Super simple, nothing special. You know, if they're motivated, they're going to give you a call. And as far as the disposition model to my buyers, like MailChimp, I am using MailChimp. Also, I'm using a text blast. So you can text these deals out, say, hey, I got this deal in this area, and to your local buyers, and they normally respond to text a lot quicker than the email. But yeah, MailChimp is one. You have Constant Contact. I mean, you can Google these things, you'll get a whole list. So for as far as getting a list, yeah, you want to use a list provider. A big thing is driving for dollars. So if no one knows what driving for dollars is, you're literally driving your city, your neighborhoods, looking for homes that need repairs, and writing down the addresses, right? Go to the tax assessor website, find the names, mailing address, if it's an absentee owner, and send them a letter. Those lists are the best because they're custom. right? Nobody can see that. A lot of list providers are going off of data, but if you can actually see the home and know it needs repairs, you have a custom list that nobody else has. And that will yield you a much better response than just, hitting the same list everyone else is. So that's pretty much how, as far as that piece goes for my business.
With your text blast, do you actually have some sort of program, a CRM or something that automates those texts, or do you simply just go to your buyers that you have in your phone?
Go straight to my buyers. Because right now, what I do is I have a deal in a contract. I go to my go-to guys because I know their clothes. I know what they're looking for.
Yep.
Sometimes, I mean, some people will say they're buyers and they're not buyers, or it can get pretty sticky sometimes. You don't really want to trust everyone. But for me, it's just in my phone, I'm texting the same 10, 15 people, hey, I got a deal. If nobody wants it, then I'll send out an email blast to other potential buyers that are interested. But I like to speak to my buyers. I like to get to know them. They know me. And we kind of know what each other needs and wants are. So I think that's the best thing to do, with just network. If you go to these reels, you can find plenty of buyers. Fix and flipping is huge right now. People looking for rental properties, for Airbnb. I mean, there's all kind of things, right? So if you're looking to just build up some capital quick so that you can be a fix and flipper, or buy and hold, Airbnb host, that's the way to do it. And then you can get into those other avenues. But for me, it's just sending a simple text message from my phone to my same core buyers, and then if something they don't want, which is rare, then I'll send an email blast out.
So yeah, man. So I think you dropped a lot of knowledge, man, and really, really, really speaking to the listeners there, is getting a lot of value out of this episode. If there was one thing that you could tell any first time investor, whether they want to wholesale or buy and hold, you've already done the gambit, so you have a feeling for all of it. So if there was one thing that you could tell someone that's just starting off, what would that be?
The one thing I would say is just change your mindset. There's a saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with or talk to. For me, it's been, it's both. I talk to people on the phone that's nowhere near my market, but we have the same mindset, right? And they keep me accountable. So to me, it's your mindset. Honestly, when you change your mindset, everything else will change, right? It sounds pretty corny, like to tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna be the biggest real estate investor in the world, or I'm gonna make $100,000 a month, right? That's because your mind is telling you, I don't know if you can do that, right? Or you're telling yourself that. But when you start telling yourself that, just like I was reading a book, Muhammad Ali, right? He will always say I'm the greatest, right? No one else called him the greatest. He called himself the greatest. Now everybody calls him the greatest, right? So it's all about your mindset, what you're telling yourself, what you're telling other people. And once you change that mindset, everything else falls in place, man. It's just a law of attraction. And when I learned that, it changed the game for me, honestly.
Yeah, man, having that mindset is so crucial, because again, kind of to recap on what you said, you sent out 8,000 letters to get that one home run, right? A lot of people would have saw that as 7,999 no's, right? Or failure,
Yeah.
right? So just you having that right mindset, that switch is so powerful and so key. So for whoever is listening, honestly, it starts with your mindset, whether that's books, podcasts, talking to the right people, getting into small communities, gyms, running clubs, whatever. You get your mindset right, and then attack everything with that right frame of mind.
Yeah, man. So how can our listeners get in contact with you, find out more about you?
Well, I'm located here in Tacoma, Washington area. You can find me on Facebook, Quintin Judson with 2 I's. Last name Judson, Judson. Instagram, real estate underscore Q, QUE. My first name, last name at gmail.com. So Quintin Judson at gmail.com. I also have another Facebook page, Quintin Buys Houses. So there's a lot of ways you can get to me. I'm all about collaboration. I mean, to me, it's no competition. There's plenty of deals out here. I love learning from other people. So anybody want to reach out to me, I would love to help. I'm all about helping people. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate it. Mike, you got anything?
No, man, I greatly appreciate you sharing all that knowledge, all those different experiences. I think your experiences are all really, really great outcomes, right? But you got the right mindset no matter what you encounter in the future. It's just going to be amazing. So greatly appreciate all the knowledge. And for whoever's out there listening, reach out to this guy. Get that lender. Get that 100%.
Oh man, Dan's gonna kill you by that one, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, so with that said, I mean that's it. This is Dan Wynn
Mike Glaspie
signing off.